Please put your hands together to welcome Dr. Kendrick Carroll, President and CEO of BSI Solutions, Inc., who will be speaking on the topic, AR and VR, can content be really placed in customers' reality?
I'll do a quick, you can hear me? Can you all hear me? Awesome. All right, well, good morning or good afternoon to everybody. My name is Dr. Kendrick Carroll. I'm President and CEO of BSI. One of the main things we want to talk about is AR, VR, but I'm also going to introduce MR. Out of show of hands, how many of y'all are familiar with extended reality? A few? All right, so extended reality is a new technology that is actually here. And I need to get the clicker. The clicker's up here, right? Yeah. All right, let me walk upstairs real quick. Where? At the corner? This is it here? Awesome. Let's see, make sure I can do this right. Which one do I press? Uh-oh. There we go. All right, perfect. All right, so what is extended reality? Extended reality is, out of show of hands, how many of you got kids that play video games? All right, perfect. So if you see your kids walking around with these big old goggles on, that is virtual reality. So it is a game that has been out in the market for several years, but now it's being adopted by enterprises. And so I'm going to walk you through how this technology is actually taking place inside of corporate America and even the federal government. So extended reality, it encompasses three different areas. I'm going to kind of get over. Three different areas: virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. There's a distinct difference between the three elements. So virtual reality is something where you have a headset on, you're fully immersed inside of a technology, which means that the real world that we're in right now, you're not actually experiencing it when you're inside virtual reality. Augmented reality is when you hold up your device and you're hovering over an item and it provides you with data. How many of y'all remember Pokemon Go? That took place. All right, Pokemon Go, exactly. That was augmented reality, right? So think about putting this into the real world. Then how many of you all follow Microsoft? I think there's a Microsoft representative here. So if you all just noticed that Microsoft closed like a $200-some billion deal with the United States Army with rolling out their HoloLens. Did y'all see that article? That is what, a lot of people classified as augmented reality, but that's actually mixed reality. So mixed reality is actually when you wear these goggles, just like I have glasses on now, I can actually show or see other realities inside of my reality, right? So if you're looking through it, you better see different objects inside of it. So that's mixed reality. That's where things become different. So how do they actually become effective for customers and bring it into reality? The first one I'm gonna talk about is virtual reality. So I got a quick video I want you to see. This is real world. So when COVID took place, one of the things that we noticed that a lot biggest issue that they had is how do we continue to teach students throughout the pandemic? How can we bring the classroom inside of virtual reality? So what you're getting ready to see is a real world enterprise solution that has been adopted by schools across the U.S. as well as colleges. Bennett College, Clemson University is getting ready to start adopting it, as well as inside the federal government. You press play for me? Now this is when a student has their headset on, right? So they go through the intake process. So this is Clayton Public Schools down in Atlanta, Georgia. So what they have now is they have the students inside of a locker room, right? So they get inside the classroom, getting ready to log in. And everything is secured. Everything is secured when you think about the Never platform. So for all you parents that have your kids that you tell them to get off the video games, just remember, this is something where the students this is how they're going to start learning now. So students are no longer going to be required to actually enter inside a classroom anymore. Now they can actually go to school from any type of remote location that they're at. So when they're doing virtual reality, just know that this is something that's becoming more educational. It's not so much of a negative impact anymore. So right now, this student is inside. So as you can see, this is in the laboratory. They're gonna bring up a cow here in a few minutes. They're gonna be dissecting frogs. They're gonna be dissecting all these different animal parts. Bringing in, we have another product that's going into delivering and helping provide surgery to medical professionals. And as you can see some of the students, we try to keep the avatars very minimal for this demo, but you can see there's actually people inside the classroom that's actually learning with the students. They're interacting with each other. This is virtual reality. This is bringing the reality inside of a virtual environment for the students. And in some situations for corporate clients, for any type of training. And of course, we had to do something pretty creative for the students. They're ready to have fun. So we created a very abstract environment for them to be able to learn and something that they can actually enjoy. But as you can see here, they're gonna bring up the chalkboard. So you can actually write on the chalkboard inside the classroom. So this is bringing the reality, a customer's reality, into one of these technologies. All right, so that's virtual reality. So now what happens next when we think about augmented reality? So if you got your mobile device up, like I said, mentioned Pokemon Go, being able to hover over items. So a good prime use case that we're doing right now using augmented reality is in the supply chain inventory management inside of warehouses. Being able to hover over different items and being able to have the system that's connected to artificial intelligence give you the exact quantity that you're working with. Right? Instead of you having to manually do this process, this technology, AR, is doing this now for you, right? And tied into artificial intelligence. Some of the areas where they're also seeing more of this at is in retail, right? So when you go into these different clothing stores and things of that sort, now instead of you having to try on all these items, you can actually do it by yourselves, create an avatar yourself, put the clothes on, now you can see how it's gonna look before you actually purchase the item. Okay, utility, we're using this inside utility companies to be able to do training, hands-on training, right? Same thing that virtual reality is doing is providing hands-on training, but also with augmented reality, these users are at the plant sites. They're being able to hover over these nuclear plants, being able to do the PMCS checks, right? Preventive maintenance and check services, all right? There we go, mixed reality. Now, we talked about this being able to have the glasses, the goggles onto your eyes and not being fully immersive. Why did I bring up Apple? If you all are following anything in this technology, this is here. This is coming. Now you're going to start seeing students or people walking around with headsets on, just as if we're wearing glasses, we're wearing shades, or what have you. Apple's going to roll out their version of this in 2022. If you all catch on to anything, if Microsoft and Apple is on it, you know it's something that's actually getting ready to take forward. So mixed reality is here, right? We have a client that we're doing right now. They're getting ready to deploy a plant out in China. They're getting ready to deploy a plant into China. Typically, it was costing them about approximately between $50 to $60 million a year to provide and send users and other trade partners out to those plant sites in order for them to do checks to verify that everything is done in order for them to kick off the next phase of the project. What we've done is brought in mixed reality. So now you can stay right there in California, but you can see what's actually taking place over in China. You don't have to actually travel anymore, thus giving them a tremendous cost savings on their bottom line, right? That is what mixed reality is doing. That's what AR is doing. That's what VR is doing. VR is not something that you do and you're going to see and just walk around with it because you're in an immersive environment. But augmented reality, mixed reality, they are. They're going to be something that customers are going to use on a daily basis, and you're going to start seeing them walk around, and the hardware is going to become smaller and smaller, just like we did with the computers, right? We started with these big white computers, Macintosh, sitting on your desk. Now we're walking around with the laptops in our hand, right? Same thing is happening with the extended reality technologies, all right? So what questions do you all have? I know I'm supposed to stop at 11:30, so I want to stay on schedule. What questions do you all have about extended reality? Sure, go for it, sir.
How difficult is the uncanny valley in getting your product to students and teachers and getting the concept, right? Have you talked? Oh, sorry. I think it's on.
There
Yes.
you go.
Okay, so are you addressing the uncanny valley where, especially with virtual reality being almost but not quite real enough that it causes a mental block from the user actually engaging with the information and the environment inside? Do you have any strategies to get across that? Do you see that being a hindrance to deploying your strategy and where the technology is going?
Awesome. There's an actual study, a Harvard business study on this technology, and then we extended on it, right? So we have actual PhDs inside of our organizations to continue with the study. Actually, contrary to what's been said about the technology, it goes in a different direction. Actually, VR is an actual solution for personnel with learning disabilities, attention and disorder, because what happens is it forces you to stay focused inside this one environment. So like right now, if someone wants to walk through here right now, half of our heads are gonna turn and look at them, right? Why? Because as human beings, we're automatically looking at our surroundings. Inside of virtual reality, you can't. You're focused on what's inside of that environment. So if somebody walk past you, hey, you still focus inside of it. So what's happening with the students and what we're proving out is that the technology is not going against it, it's actually enhancing it. And it's increasing the students' learning rate. Why? Because VR is the natural, or gaming is the natural learning state for youth. Why do our youth actually tie to games? And for games, it's because that's their natural learning state. That is the reason why our kids love to be involved with games. So if we can take games and turn it into a learning experience, guess what? Now you just entice the students to actually learn even more. And that's the sweet spot that we saw. I saw your hand up. I saw his, then we'll come to you, sir. I'm sorry. Oh, well, he got the mic, so we'll go to the mic, then we'll move it up here.
Okay, it's live. A question. I have a good friend who's in Israel, and they're working a lot on integrating neurosciences into the AR and VR space. Do you have any succinct plans in terms of integrating snap-in technology so that the VR experience, the mixed reality or the AR experience, is something that can seamlessly become part of the human experience in next generation?
We actually do. I won't share as much information, but feel free. I'm gonna go to the next slide either way. You can feel free to reach out to me and we get everything up on the NDA. We actually have a study that's going on right now of doing this when it's tied to the military and PTSD and using virtual reality inside of it. So there is a human aspect behind it. The Army actually rolled out, in 2019, they actually rolled out a virtual human simulator that was tied to virtual reality and neural networking inside of it that allowed them to understand what happens if I lift up a can of sand versus if I was to lift up a sandbag. What happens with my body? And what it did, it brought inside virtual reality so you can really see the true impact. But we do have projects that's going on right now that's involving even more human impact.
Yeah, talking about human impact, it is hard for adults to manage it, and it is even going to be harder for kids. When you are applying these technologies to younger minds, while their focus is improved, we are taking them far from reality. So how is this, the psychological impact of these technologies, how is this being addressed?
I would challenge it from a standpoint and say we won't take them away from it. If you think about inside of a classroom, right? We all have been there. Inside of a classroom coming in, when we want to work on and we're dissecting the frog, we all hated that smell, right? That the frog used to be inside of, and you have to go and dissect it. Well, inside of that, if you think about when we're cutting it open and going through it, you learn some of it, right, inside of that real reality as far as the different components of that frog at that point. But then when you get inside virtual reality, it is more focused. It's more focused inside of it. It's not necessarily taking them away from the reality. What it's doing is really giving them more precise training and learning. Now they can take that and go outside of it. So if you follow in San Francisco, one of our partnering companies, what they're doing now is we're actually teaching medical professionals on how to do different forms of procedures. I don't have enough time to go through. I would have brought up another one, but if you connect with me or send me a contact information, contact information, I would share over some of the medical performance that we've done in VR and being able to provide brain surgery, being able to show you what happens if you want to dissect the heart, right? Being able to see it. And it actually does not take away from the reality of it. What it does, it allows you to do more inside of it from a learning perspective and make more mistakes inside of it that's not costly, right? On the inside of the reality, if I was to do something outside of the reality and my first time and I'm dissecting the heart, right? And I destroy it. Guess what? Now I got to start over and go get another one. Inside of virtual reality, I can mess up and continue to learn from my mistakes and then get better as I come out into the reality to get ready to execute it. So it actually doesn't go against it. And I can share some more studies with you to kind of show you that. Okay. Oh, I'm going to go to the mic. I'm going to follow the mic.
Sorry, I got a mic this time.
Go for it.
So I'm just curious a little bit about, especially talk about augmented reality. I mean, the applications are usually, I would assume, for a mobile kind of interaction, right? And with the current limitations in hardware, for example, the weight of the device and also the ability for the device to hold its battery life and also to be able to process the AR itself, it's really heavy, right? Mm-hmm. As you can see in the past by the failure of Google Lens, right? How will you actually compare that back then as of today and in the near future as well?
I know this is not the official version of Apple, but if you can look at what they're showing, right? This is a version that they're rolling out of their VR or their MR headsets, right? It's just like regular technology. It's going to continue to evolve. The hardware is going to get smaller and smaller. Like right now, from a cloud perspective, everything, when we did VR about 2.5 years ago, we were doing everything on large desktops that had to have a massive amount of RAM inside of it. Well, come later on this year, we're going to be doing all that inside of a whole nother cloud environment, right? It's going to start to change. It's going to evolve. The hardware, yes, is heavy right now, but if you look at some of the manufacturers like a Pico is one of our partner companies. They moved the battery to the back versus all on the front like your Oculus, right? Why? Because they understood that was one of the issues that they were having from the users. So the hardware is evolving. It's going to continue to evolve over time, just like our iPhones, right? Look at when we had the iPhone 1, now we all where we're in the iPhone 12, right? And then we look at the dimensions and everything else. So it's going to change. It's going to change over time. Correct.
So, for example, your phone or some other device, and then pass that on to the actual AR, VR device. Mm-hmm. Additionally, that expense or additional battery.
I agree. It is going to create some type of latency, and if the technology, both sides of technology don't grow at the same time, right? So the beauty behind it is that we got to have a pipeline and timeline as the hardware grow. We don't want the software to outgrow the hardware, and we don't want the hardware to outgrow the software, right? So it has to be done simultaneously, but it will continue to get to the point and evolve to where we're able to put this all into a smaller environment, smaller hardware for users to be able to use and consume. Yes, sir.
One more question.
Okay. So one of the things that my company's been working on is field service applications. Mm-hmm. And what we're finding is that there's about to be this explosion. Corona has changed everything, and we've got to get the digital divide closed. We've got to connect half of the American population that doesn't have high-speed internet access. Mm-hmm. but there aren't enough people that are trained to be able to do the installation work. So we're looking at using augmented reality for being able to create smart hands in the field, and then be able to rely back on the team in the back. Have you done any work in that space?
In the field service, we didn't use augmented reality. We used mixed reality.
Okay.
So when you think about the workforce, one of the challenges that we've seen across the industry is being able to capitalize on the talent that's been there for years, and then being able to keep that knowledge going forward as they're retiring off or as COVID continues to die down. So we use mixed reality to do that. So essentially we leverage the subject matter expert in one area and allow them to reach out and train the other ones that are at plant sites. So we use a different approach. Augmented reality was more so just for overlaying and getting the information, but we use mixed reality for the other piece for field services applications. Yeah. Is that my last question? Did I have one more?
One more question, maybe?
I think I saw a gentleman, someone right there.
Anybody else?
Nope. We're good.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all so much for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Carroll. That was really informative.